Have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? When I was trying to get this podcast off the ground, I had so many questions. How do I record an episode? Where do I find background music? How do I get my show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the other places people like to listen? Where do I find advertisers? The answer to every one of those questions is really simple. Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, distributing, and monetizing your podcast. And best of all, it's 100% free and 100% ridiculously easy to use. Let me tell y'all. Everybody keeps asking me, what do I do to podcast? I'm telling you, the answer is Anchor. They created my RSS feed. They gave me my first 2 sponsors that you're now hearing on this podcast. I want you to know that I believe in Anchor. I've grown with this platform since February, and I'm going to continuously grow with this platform. So if you always wanted to start a podcast, go to anchor.fm/start to join me and the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast.
Japan.
Hello, everyone. It's the 13th episode of the Walk by Faith Show. This episode will highlight a boss lady, a beautiful chick, somebody that I met at Prairie View A&M University, who has been raising the bar ever since I met her. She is either busy studying, winning pageants, or putting on women empowerment conferences for the community. I have never seen her sit down for too long, and I want everyone that listens to know her story and to understand that in life there are absolutely no limits. Let me say that again. In life, there is absolutely no limits. So don't place any limits on yourself, and don't let others place them onto you. So our beautiful guest is none other than Miss Adebisi Adeniji-Adele. Hold on, guys. Let me say that one more time, okay? Because one thing you should know is that for our beautiful African brothers and sisters, we should not be doubting their name. We need to be able to say their full name, the name that their mothers and fathers and aunts and uncles gave them. So let me say that one more time for the people. My beautiful guest for today is none other than Adebisi Adeniji-Adele. Okay? Bisi, how are you doing today?
I am doing good. You said that so perfectly, actually. I'm surprised, Jasmine.
Listen, this country girl is getting a little educated, okay? She has definitely been coming up in her game on just how beautiful her African brothers and sisters are, especially after the movie, The Black Panther. I mean, it just really showed that we got to work together. And I can't be saying your name just the nickname BC when your name is Adebisi. Period. Point blank simple.
Well,
if my name is Jasmine, I want people to say my full name, and I don't need them to be calling me just Jazz. I need them to really recognize me. So, one, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and 3 things that you want to change about this world?
So, like how you said, my name is Adebisi Adeniji-Adele. I am a proud Prairie View alum. And so I should say 3 things that I want to change about the world. So before I even talk about that, I'll just add on some more about myself. 3 things I want people to know about me. I am a Christian. I love God, love people, and I'm passionate about women empowerment. So with that being said, 3 things that I would like to change in the world. I would like to change inequality. I would like to change just all the issues going on with police brutalities and minorities in the system. And I would like for people to know that they have the power to truly, truly do what they can do. So those are 3 things that I would like to change in the world.
Okay, and can you tell the people what it is that you do? I mean, DC, we see your Instagram. I don't know if now you are our next comedian, if you're our next model, if you're our next conference planner, our next beauty pageant for America, for this World Miss Universe. I mean, enlighten us, because I know I can't keep up. It's only so much scrolling I can do in order to know exactly who you are. So just tell the people what are you doing nowadays?
So I currently work as a designs engineer for Chevron Corporations. And what I do at my heart, truly, truly, my time, a lot of my money has been going to is my nonprofit. It's called Adior, which is a 501c3 tax-exempt organization. And the organization is just a women empowerment organization, and our platform focuses on education, empowerment, and elevation. So that's a project that I've been working on a lot, and kind of got into that passion because me and you went to school together, and we worked on the Women in STEM organization, and that's just an organization that I kind of founded on campus with the support of Jasmine, with the National Society of Black Engineers and the Society of Women Engineers, that kind of focused on bridging the gap between the gap in women in STEM and bringing high school students, collegiate students, and business professionals into one place to talk about some of the issues that we face as women in STEM organizations. And STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And truly starting that conversation and that dialogue, that unspoken truth about how, women aren't very represented in the STEM field. We're not connecting with one another. We're not getting promoted as quickly as our male counterparts. We're not being asked to speak up. So, just starting that dialogue. So I started that at Prairie View, and Women in STEM is actually now a full-blown organization on the campus. And Women in STEM started in 2014. It's 2019. It's going strong. And so that's where my passion is, and that's kind of where Adior came from. After I started working in the corporate sector as an engineer, I wanted to find passion in something that was more than myself, the same passion and excitement that brought me into starting something like Women in STEM and putting on a lot of other organizations and events and community outreaches that I've been able to put out in the community. And if you know me, you know how much I love women, and I just love engaging with them and just truly being there to support. And I felt like, for the last few years, God's just kind of been putting me in situations where I'm there to support women, whether it's in the educational sector, just letting women know how strong and powerful they are, or just being able to pray with somebody. So that's kind of where Adior came from, that entire vision. And Adior is for women of all backgrounds, and we're based currently in Houston, Texas. We're spearheaded by our board of directors, and a lot of questions that I get asked. So where did the word Adior come from? And it's derived from the Yoruba word Ade, meaning crown, and the French word Dieu, meaning God. And when you combine these two together, it's a term that symbolizes how women are crown of God and should not only be seen as such, but also hold themselves to such regard. So putting Adior to the side, some of the things that I've been able to do, participate in a few pageants and, get a few crowns under my belt, and just been able to just kind of put on community events, whether it's through church, whether it's through school, whether it's on my own, to truly, truly support people. So that's a little bit about myself. I'm passionate about education. Born in Lagos, Nigeria. I was raised in Houston, Texas, in Alice specifically. And so, according to the Texas Tribune, Alice, Texas is actually considered economically disadvantaged. So I've been able to, pull from my upbringing and the area that I've been surrounded and truly, truly try to give back to people that I see that could have easily been me, who weren't necessarily encouraged to go to school or do something better, or to enhance their life in any way, shape, or form. So I want to be able to kind of bridge that gap. This area is considered economically disadvantaged or underrepresented.
Okay. And,
is that enough for you, Jasmine?
yes, that's more than enough. Now we're all updated, we're in check. We know exactly what BC is doing now. So I just want to talk about your transition to Prairie View A&M University, simply because, one, as I know, you're a first-time immigrant here, and also you were a transfer student. So you did not start off at Prairie View, but dog, when you came, you shook us up, you gave us life, you graduated, and then you walked away, and I was just like, okay, well, where's DC? Where's she at? Because we love her so much. So it's just like, what brought you to Prairie View? What led you to this wonderful university? And, what was that experience like transferring colleges? Because I know it's a lot of people that may listen that may be thinking about transferring schools or doesn't even know that that's a process. And it's also like a life event that has to happen potentially.
Oh, my. Prairie View A&M University, very near and very dear to my heart. I can say that transferring to Prairie View is actually one of the best decisions that I've made for my life. I don't know about anybody else, but I can say that. I actually started off at UTSA. I guess that would be considered like a PWI. So I don't know if anybody is listening on the podcast that may be in college, may be thinking about transferring. One advice that I can tell you is honestly know what your values are. And look, when you're going into college or even thinking about transferring, know what your values are and making sure that the university that you're trying to go to aligns with your vision and your values, and truly gives you what you want to take out of it. If you're going to be paying a university X amount of dollars to get an education, make sure that it's exactly what you want and how you want it. So I started off at UTSA, University of Texas at San Antonio, and I was at UTSA for about 3 years, actually. You may not know this, Jasmine. I was actually at UTSA for about 3 years. And during my time at UTSA, I was a UTSA ambassador. I was a UTSA College of Engineering ambassador. I was the president of our African Students. I was a vice president of our African Students Association. I was able to receive about 500 hours in volunteering. I served on, I presented for our Black History show, the first ever of its kind at UTSA, where it was just talking about Black history and, this day and age and how far we've come along in our African American history. At UTSA, it was called Our Reigns Reclaim. I was part of the cast, and that was super exciting. Been able to, speak in front of a panel. And so when I was at UTSA, I truly, truly did a lot. But I won, I was who's who amongst American colleges and universities. I was I got inducted into the Golden Key International Honor Society, Omicron Delta Kappa, which is another honor society, and I got multiple invitations, a lot of scholarships. And I know people are listening like, well, if you did all this stuff at UTSA, why did you transfer? And my grades were, fairly good as well at UTSA. Why did what made you consider transferring? And that's something that, I get asked all the time. So I really want to share that experience with you all. While I was at UTSA, although I was getting a lot of accolades and I was very involved and my grades were, fairly good, I felt like there was something missing. I would look as if, for being African American, being female, being in engineering, there weren't a lot of people that looked like me in my College of Engineering courses. I didn't have that mentor. I didn't have really anybody to mentor or tap into. And I remember, just trying to, build back up our National Society of Black Engineers at the university and truly trying to make people understand, being career-minded and being career-focused while at the university. And even though I was able to, do that and kind of set that platform, and even I still do it now, it was something missing. I remember I would look at my friends in other schools and, their schools were sponsoring them to go to National Society of Black Engineers conferences or NSB conferences, SWE conferences. They had a lot of support, and that was something that I was able to get, but not at UTSA. I had mentors that went to UTS. I had mentors that went to University of Houston, that went to Prairie View. that, went to University of Pitt, mentors literally everywhere except for UTSA. And so I was able to pull from them. And I remember one of the deciding moments that really had me, very, ready to transfer was, I remember I was taking engineering analysis my final semester at UTSA, and the first day of class, my professor said, I think there were about 80 or 90 of us in the class, and said, "Look around you. Last year, 75% of my students failed this class. So look around you. 1 in every 4 of you guys are gonna pass, and 3 out of 4 of you guys will fail this class." That wasn't very encouraging. So, I knew throughout that semester I really, really had to work my butt off. And I was still in all these organizations. So, keep that in mind. I was still in all these organizations. I was working at the time. I was volunteering at the time. It was just a lot of stress and a lot of pressure. But on the engineering side, I wasn't, I hadn't had any internships. I was trying to get internships. I didn't really know how to dive into that world. And I just didn't really know how to progress myself in my educational endeavors with engineering. So I remember it was around our final exam, and so I made it to that point. And I went to the professor's class. I went to the professor's office hours, and he was teaching a concept. And I remember I wasn't able to make the class for that week because I was at NESB. So I went to him and I said, I know this is what we're talking about in class. I'm not quite sure how to go about it. And the professor looked at me, kicked his feet on the table, reclined in his chair, and said, "I'm not going to help you." And I don't know, that was shocking for me. I was like, "Well, I pay you."
Oh.
I was like, "Well, I pay you. Like, can you, he's like, "Well, I'm not going to help you reach out to other students," which I had. I was in a walk-in study group. Like, engineering students were frantic in our library. So, I would go there, just kind of whoever I could talk to, and we studied together. But nobody seemed to understand how to start off, solving these equations. And so for 30 minutes, we kind of sat there. We looked at each other literally for 30 minutes while his feet was on the table, and he said he wasn't going to help me. So I remember kind of walking out of his office that day, just kind of like a little bit motivated to prove him wrong, to prove that I could be successful in this class, and just motivated to be one of the students who passed. And so after our final exams, anyways, walking into finals, I think there were probably about maybe like 20 students like in finals. It started off with a class of 80 to 90 people. It was about 20 people in there, and a lot of the students in there were probably borderline students anyways, weren't sure if they were going to pass the class or not. And, I passed the class. I did fairly well. My grades were good. And so I remember I bumped into the professor after finals and after grades came out. And I looked at him and I was like, it looks like I don't have to, take your class anymore. It was like a sense of triumph and just a little sass in there as well. and what he told me really, it didn't resonate with me. What he told me really carried on to why I do what I do now. He said, "After you stormed out of my office that day, I watched closely to see how you were going to do in my class." To me, that meant that somebody was waiting for me to fail. If you didn't help somebody and you just let them go along, you really wanted to see if I was going to sink or swim. And thank God, I was able to swim. But to me, I was like, I didn't want to be in an environment where somebody was waiting for me to sink or swim, where, they didn't really encourage going to conferences. And not only that, there were just kind of like, there were minor things that, racial aggressions that you'll get being at a PWI, especially being in engineering, being the only Black person or the only Black female, being a double minority. And just not necessarily having that mentor, not having a mentor figure to kind of help you guide you through the process. So I remember I talked to my mentor. One of my mentors talked to Prairie A&M University. And so I decided to apply and take a visit to the campus. I took a visit to the campus, and for the first time in my college career, my head of department sat me down in his office and talked to me. I can't tell you who or what the head of department of the mechanical engineering program at UTS, I can't tell you who he is or what he looks like. And that meant a lot to me, just kind of that one-on-one conversation, that one-on-one relationship that Prairie View gave me, that sense of community. And, just him talking to me alone sold me on Prairie View A&M University. And I won't lie, when I got to Prairie View, I was like, oh, Lord, what did I do? No, seriously, because, HBCUs are not properly, not funded as much as they should be. We're kind of overlooked. But Prairie View taught me so much. Prairie View taught me so much. I never once have I gone into a professor's office at Prairie View A&M University and asked for help and they denied me help. Never once has a professor done that. Every time I go into a professor's office, and that's something that I truly value from Prairie View, the value of it, the value that they put on education and truly helping out students who seek that opportunity and that window to progress. Remember, I went to Prairie View, and, obviously, like any school, you have your serious students and the students that aren't so serious. But then, you meet people like Jasmine Stitt, people who are thinking out of the box and thinking beyond their engineering degree to see what's next. I met people like Alexa. I met, some of my three lifelong friends that, I'm taking up for the rest of my life. I've met so many people that inspired me in many ways that many ways than I could imagine. These people looked like me. I was finally in classes where there were women there, and they looked like me. They were minorities as myself, and, these people were seeking to get a higher education. People from different backgrounds, not necessarily, having money or, coming from a rich background or, whatever, but these people were seeking the same opportunities. And, that meant so much to me. That was, I can't lie that was very encouraging. So when people say representation is important, I believe that. I came to Prairie View, and Prairie View provided me so many opportunities. I was part of NSB. I served as the Professional Business Diversity Chair at NSB. I put on presentations for SWE. I was part of the Thurgood Marshall Scholarship, Thurgood Marshall College Fund. I won Miss Black and Gold for the university, for the state of Texas, for the Southwest region while at Prairie View. I founded Women in STEM at Prairie View. I served as a facilitator chair, served as the operations chair, and just met so many amazing people throughout. I helped kind of revamp the supplemental instruction program while at Prairie View. I represented the College of Engineering and just the university, going to other high school districts or just, different school districts to talk about the importance of college and education and why Prairie View is a good option. So Prairie View provided me a lot of opportunity. I know I just said a lot, but if you're thinking about going to a university, like my first advice said, make sure that the vision of that university, or if you think about transfer, make sure that the vision of that university aligns with what your visions are, and they can provide you what you need to be successful. And make sure that you have mentors, people that are doing more than what you're doing and can truly kind of help you along with that process. And be intentional. So there we go.
Yes, and something, your story is not unique. I'm pretty sure there are a lot of students that look like us that go to institutions that don't look like them, that need support and need help, however, are not afforded the same opportunities as their other counterparts. So I would just definitely say that this is a highlighting moment. This is a teaching moment that, baby girls, baby bros, wherever y'all are, if y'all been around college and if you're in college and people not supporting you, there's always an HBCU near you that will support you, that will, that will make sure that you get the help and the one-on-one attention you need. Which leads me to my next point, Ms. BC, which is, why are you so passionate about women empowerment? And what what was it like planning a banquet that highlights women in STEM? And we talked about it briefly, you and I, and so many other women like Alexa, and it was so many other women that, and I just want to give one a shout out to Alexa Pete, that when she was the program chair at the time, like this was a big program. We got nationally recognized for it. You know, like it was a big deal because one, at first we weren't really celebrating women in STEM. I don't think it was like a topic. Now you have the feminist movement, you got the Me Too movement, you got a lot of us just taking back our power and just saying Black women rock, women rock. But it's just like, okay, at Prairie View, this was the first of its kind. It's saying, hey, we know it's not a lot of women in engineering, but there is a large group of women that are in STEM, which can give us a better, group to lean on, and besides sororities, besides, the honor societies, and you had things like Purple Jackets that put women of all caliber together. But it was just something so special about when corporate members came in to mentor not only high school students, but even middle school students as well as collegiate students. And I want to shout out to my mom. She came to this, and she was a nurse, and she represented like the biology portion. And basically, it all came from like you and Alexa and you all bringing that vision together. So what was it like planning it? And I think we need more of it. I think we need definitely more banquets or more times to just celebrate how great women are. So just tell us the challenges and just some of the great benefits that it brings to showcase women and to be that encouragement for women empowerment.
So you said a lot right now, but there are a few things that I pulled out from it. One of the first things you asked was, why am I passionate about women empowerment? Am I really? Yeah, I am actually. You can kind of see that in the things that I've been able to get myself involved in. So I'm passionate about women empowerment because I feel like sometimes we don't speak up enough for ourselves. And we don't really, we don't go for the extra opportunities, and we don't have advocates. So I'm passionate about women empowerment because I want to be that advocate for women. I've had a lot of amazing mentors in my life that's been able to pour into me. And I'll talk about that later. And I feel like we can do so much. We have so much to offer and give. And it's now or now that we truly, truly tap into all the power that we have and start moving forward and start creating a space for ourselves in this world. Creating a space for ourselves in this world and making sure that we thrive and we're doing well in it. So that's why I'm passionate about women. And what was it like planning Women in STEM? So honestly, first year Women in STEM, we had about 300 women come out to the event, and it was amazing. We had about 300 students, and this was inclusive of, like I said before, high schoolers, collegiate members, and professionals come out, and it was just a beautiful event to see women dress up, come, have dinner, talk about the issues that are really important to us, talking about, speaking up. And honestly, I put this on for women, but it empowered me as well, because even now in my career, sometimes I find myself not speaking up as much as I need to. And I go back to the things that I was able to take away from Women in STEM. And, I have to talk myself up and say, hey, VC, speak up now. You have this idea, say it. Because, I know we've all had that moment where we have an idea, we thought about it, never said it, somebody else said it, and they received a lot of credit for it. So being confident in speaking up, but planning Women in STEM, it wasn't the easiest thing to do, honestly. It was a lot of hard work. It was a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of disagreements. It was a lot of phone calls, a lot of networking, just a lot of learning. It was a really big learning opportunity. But through it all, I would do it again. Through it all, I would do it again. It was just such a beautiful thing to witness. It was such a beautiful thing to witness. And even after the first minutes, we started on time, finished on time. It was very classy. And after that, a lot of companies that, came to, a lot of women that came on behalf of their companies got so excited, and they were like, hey, we're looking to help you guys sponsor this event next year. How can we get involved? And that was beautiful to see. They took value from talking to our students. They took value from what they were able to give back. And they thought it so important so that they were looking to help us sponsor future events. One of the things that I gained from Women in STEM, when I go into interviews and my interviewers talked about how they were also at the same event and how they have mentors that they still talk to today that they were able to pull from that event. These are things that I enjoy seeing, being able to connect women together because, in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, there's not a lot of female representation. And so for me, it's important to build that bridge, build that gap. And if you have any questions, being able to ask it in an open and transparent platform where we can talk about the issues that are really facing women in STEM. So Women in STEM, it was hard, but it was worth it in the end. It was hard. But we were able to, we had about 50 facilitators, that were people that were, going around to make sure that there was dialogue, amongst the table talks that we had. It was a full presentation. It was a program. I know the following year we had an entrepreneur come out. Her name is Miss Banneker. I can't really remember her first name. And, it was just amazing to see, we weren't able to afford her, but she thought it so important that she came and, sponsored herself to Prairie View's campus to speak to our girls about paving a way and really making a way for ourselves in this environment and, in the STEM, science, technology, engineering environment. So that's why I'm passionate, because we have people like Mrs. Banneker who thought it important enough to come to our campus to give back. I'm passionate about it because there's not a lot of space for us in this, STEM environment or just, in the world in general. So I want us to, kind of follow suit in that same light and creating that space. If nobody's going to hand it to us, let's create it for ourselves. So that's why I'm passionate about women empowerment. I'm passionate about women in STEM. I have friends. So I have actually a friend in particular. I'm not going to mention her name, but I remember just we graduated. Let me backtrack. So we went to high school together, and I remember we were in senior year, and she didn't pass her tax test. Now, I don't know if whoever is listening to this podcast, if you're from Texas, how the tax test works is that your junior year, we take our exams and you pass out of tax our junior year, and that kind of says, okay, you're able to get your diploma and graduate senior year. That's kind of like a checking box that you passed your tax test. And she didn't pass her tax test junior year. So I remember senior year, when tax test came around again and the seniors who passed tax didn't have to take it, I had a friend who was studying for it. So, around tax time, we would go to her house, me and another friend would go to her house and truly try to help her prepare for tax. And unfortunately, she, didn't pass it that year. But I remember when when she saw me and other friends, go to college, and I'm pretty sure that kind of, did something for her, and, I graduated high school in 2010, and just over the course of, we're in 2018 now, over the course of the 8 years, she has yet to go back to school. And that's something that I've been trying to encourage. And I remember, and we've had several conversations about getting her back in school. And, one of the last conversations that I had with her was, so what's something that's holding you back from, applying and going back to school? And she expressed to me, one of the things that she said was that, college isn't for everybody and, X, Y, and Z. Now, I don't disagree with her on that point. I don't believe that, college is meant for everybody for sure. But I believe that, creating a better opportunity for yourself is what education affords. And it opens your eyes to a lot of things. But again, it's not for everybody. But underneath what she told me, one of the things that I got from it was that she didn't really have confidence in herself to even apply. She didn't believe in herself. That's one of the underlying things that I got from our conversation after it was done. It wasn't necessarily that college wasn't for everybody, but she didn't believe that she was quote unquote smart enough or strong enough to get in and, you know, work through it. And because it's a conversation that me and her have had years in and years out, and she talked about how she wanted to go, but then this time, you know, the narrative was a bit different. So for me, you know, I see friends like her, you know, I see women like her, and I want to empower them to, you know, I want to, you know, give the power back to them to say, hey, if I can do it, we all came from the, you know, same background. You know, I grew up in A-Leaf. Like I said before, A-Leaf is considered economically disadvantaged. When I graduated, in my graduating class, out of 804 people, only 17% of us were considered college ready. 17% of 1,804 people. I want to, and so me and her, we, you know, we literally come from the same background. I want people like her to see that if I can get through college and if I can, you know, if I can do X, Y, and Z, so can you. If I can, you know, believe in myself and I have all this support, so can you. So for me, women empowerment is all about allowing women to feel that they can do what it is that they put their mind to, that they don't set limits for themselves, and just being able to be that support system for whoever needs it. Because sometimes all it takes is somebody saying, hey, you can do it. So that's what women empowerment means to me.
Okay. So, what is it like working as a Black woman in STEM? Because we've encouraged people, we've encouraged them, and we've said, hey, you can do it, you can do it. Now let's fast forward. What is it like actually being Black, actually being a woman in a male or white dominated field?
That's actually, you know, something that I have to talk to myself about. So what it's like being African American female in a predominantly male dominated field, like I said, talking about, you know, I work as a design engineer for Chevron, and again, not a lot of people look like me. So sometimes you can feel isolated, or sometimes you may feel like you're getting overlooked, or, you know, everything you do might be combed with a, you know, might be scrutinized with a fine-tooth comb. But another way to look at it is you're paving the way for those that come after you. So, you know, sometimes, like I said, you might feel alone, but it's, you know, I see my job and my role beyond myself, beyond my environment, beyond, you know, whatever circumstances. I see myself paving a way for those that come after me, the other women that come after me, the other African American women that come after me, to see that they too can, you know, be in an environment that wasn't necessarily created for us, but thrive and do well in it. You know, there's so many lessons learned that I've been able to pull just in my short time at Chevron that, you know, I mean, we don't even have the time to talk about it now, but, you know, being able to, you know, create avenues and opportunities for yourself. So some things that I've been able to learn, you know, while here, you know, I've been provided a lot of opportunities. You know, this past NSBE conference, I was recruited. I was actually invited to serve on our recruiting team for the NSBE, and I said yes. You know, so anytime there's an opportunity for you, take it. Say yes to everything. Learn, you know, being open to have mentors that don't look like you, that don't have the same background as you. You know, you can have a white mentor, a white male mentor, an Asian mentor. You know, being able to tap into your resources, network within the community or within that corporate environment. You know, it's true what they say: speak once but listen twice. Being able to understand your environment and how to really truly make it what you want it to be. Now, the reason why I bring up, you know, being invited to join on the recruiting team was because given the amount of years that I've been with the company and given the amount of training that I have, I wasn't necessarily qualified to join the recruiting team. But yet, just given the spaces and opportunities that I've been able to put myself in, somebody thought I would be a really, really good shoe-in to, come on the recruiting team. And, just being that, I'm able to, give presentations, in front of presidents, in front of presidents, vice presidents. So it's just been pretty amazing. I've served as a judge on I can't remember the name. It's Project Lead the Way. So it's a STEM-based organization where high schoolers come together and, come up with an idea and, sell the idea to us. I've been able to, serve as one of the engineering leads for Project Take Your Kids to Work Day, and just a lot of different opportunities that I said yes to. So what's it like working for a major oil and gas company? It's not always easy, especially being African American female in STEM, and there's that male ego that sometimes we have to learn how to maneuver around. But one thing that I can say is make that opportunity for yourself. Always ask questions. Set meetings up with people. You see somebody doing something that you're interested in, go talk to them. Go talk to them. Go talk to them. If you're somebody that's new, bring them on board as well. Figure out who your allies are and truly, truly, truly soak in as much as you can. Soak in every opportunity and say yes to every opportunity, because when people see that you're a go-getter and you're also very motivated, they'll be more inclined to let you know about different opportunities coming up and, open that avenue for you and speak up about you even when you're not there. So make sure your work speaks for itself and you're making the right connections.
Okay. So I now, also guys, I've just had a Harvard Business Review, and I think it would be great for any woman that is in corporate to just find your voice. It's a Harvard Business Review document. It's about 4 pages long. It says find your voice, and it's just talking about women speaking up in the corporate environment, especially in meetings. And it's really important for us to speak up. It gives them their perspective on what they think of us when we speak up, and also how women think that they are perceived as we speak up. So that's just a plug, just a little slight, nugget of information. Next, BC, I just want to talk about IUR one more time. I want to speak on this because this is your baby, right? This is something that's up and coming. I know we have a GoFundMe that is, just trying to raise money for your nonprofit organization. I just want you to highlight the Natural Beauty Pageant because you already spoke to us about this philanthropic organization earlier. So can you just highlight the Natural Beauty Pageant and what you're trying to achieve there?
So I know I spoke about doing pageants earlier, that, I was able to, get into pageants when I was in college, and I won a few titles. And so with that being said.
By the way, guys, she's being very, very modest. It wasn't just a few titles. The girl was a bad chick, okay? She's over here, I won a few titles. She definitely won a lot of titles, okay? She knows how to compete and win a pageant. If she went for Miss Universe, I bet she would win that too.
Well, thank you, Jasmine. That means a lot coming from you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So the Adebisi pageant coming up, it's called the Princess Protection Pageant. And truly what the Princess Protection Pageant is it's a natural beauty scholarship pageant that kind of focuses on Adebisi's principles of education, empowerment, and elevation. But all of this is provided under the pageant platform. So when prior to coming to college, my family, we couldn't afford to put me in a pageant. So, and it's not even something I even ever considered because it wasn't in my economically disadvantaged area of Ailey. It wasn't something that we really talked about. Parents, while parents are still trying to make ends meet, nobody really has money to pour into doing a pageant. So that's why the Princess Protection Pageant is so important to me, because I want to be able to give these girls in these economically disadvantaged or underrepresented areas that opportunity to feel empowered, and while at the same time learn about, different careers and, learn how to speak, how to present themselves, learn how to network, learn how to, build that confidence within themselves, learn how to interview. So that's what, truly the Princess Protection pageant is about. It's a free pageant. Everything is covered down from the dresses to the hair to the makeup to everything. There are no pageant fees associated with the Princess Protection pageant. We're currently, me and my board of directors right now, we're working on getting and building, getting money for the organization, so that we can provide all of these resources to the girls. So it's a 10 to 12 week long, pageant training that kind of goes with it. And right this year we're focused on 12 to 14 year olds and, 12 to 14 year old girls. So, they'll come in, and it's broken down into 2 sessions. The first session is the princess training, where we'll teach ladies about, just empowerment. We'll, build that sense of community within the girls. During this time, we're having a panel of professionals come out, a panel of professional ladies come out and talk about their career map and how they were able to, their educational background and how they're able to get where they are today. We're, building that confidence within the lady, talking about how to carry yourself, etiquette, what that looks like, teaching them everything about presentation and branding and how to truly sell yourself. And that's something that, otherwise they may not be able to get in their environment. A lot of these girls, will be coming from areas where, people might, they step outside and people might be selling drugs, or, teenage pregnancy might be something that's synonymous to being 13 and a girl, So we want to be able to kind of give these girls something that they otherwise might not have had that opportunity to get. And then the second half is, pageant training. So we will teach you everything from projection, speaking, how to walk, how to carry yourself, just so much so. We're going to have, people who have won titles and, who have won titles come out and teach these girls how to walk, how to carry themselves. And so I'm pretty excited about it. The pageant's actually coming up in August 14th. So if you're interested in learning more about Adeyor, about the Princess Protection pageant, you can visit our website on, quick plug, you can visit our website, adeyor.org, and that's spelled ADEIUR.org. And if you feel compelled to donate, we also have a donate button there that you can donate to the cause. Again, this is everything that Adeyor is about it's nonprofit. We don't profit from anything. Everything that we're receiving is going back into our programs and our initiatives. So be part of that movement. Be part of seeing a young girl succeed, having a young girl believe in themselves, teaching a young girl how to walk, how to talk, how to carry themselves, how to articulate, how to be eloquent. That's what the Princess Protection is about. And if you feel like some girls that may benefit from it, feel free to go on the website and apply. The application deadline is May 5th. So again, we're looking for young girls. And you can read more about it on the website, which is ADEIUR.org.
Okay. Thank you for that plug, BC. Now, I want to just talk about life after work, what that means when you have to move, and the cultural differences from Texas to now California. Maybe it's the friends differences. Maybe it's just the way of life, how you have to get around. Maybe it takes 2 hours to go from one part of Cali to another part of Cali. I just want to speak on some of the cultural differences of moving away from home, such as Houston, and now living in a new city and state. And then after that, we'll have about 2 more questions, and then we'll go ahead and close out this interview because it's just so powerful and so dynamic. I never want to put a limit on BC, and I just want her to be able to share her thoughts and ideas so this audience can just benefit from it. So again, to our next question, can you talk about some of the cultural differences of living in a new state after coming from Houston, Texas?
So it's true what they say, Southern hospitality is a real thing. I think being from Houston or just being from Texas overall, we get spoiled, right? Because we have that Southern hospitality. The culture is very straightforward and direct. When I moved to California, I can't lie, it definitely was a cultural shock. You know, everything from how much traffic there is to how it's always sunny outside and beautiful outside to the state taxes and looking at your check after the state of California takes a cut of your check as well as the federal government. So definitely, the people are, of course, very, very different. One of the things that I can say, you know, with California and Texas, between, you know, the differences between California and Texas, Texans, you know, we have that Southern hospitality. People are very direct in your face, but loving and caring and inviting. Whereas in California, people are pleasant. You know, people are very friendly. But there's definitely a difference. They're not necessarily, you know, they're not as inviting or as welcoming as you would in Texas. So just being able to kind of navigate. For anybody that's considering moving to a different state, just, you know, one of the things that I would say is remember who you are, remember your values. You have to be open to meeting new people, to networking, and to really putting yourself out if you want to be able to, to be successful in a new environment. So California is definitely different from Texas, you know, everything from people down to, you know, even just in the corporate sector. It's you know, it's just very, very different. But understanding who you are, what you're about, and being able to pull from those things, pulling from who you are, and not necessarily letting an environment change who you are, but being open enough to take on and soak in everything that new environment has to offer you. Just, you know, being open-minded to trying different experiences and seeing new places. So be open. Be open. That's something I can definitely say. There is a cultural difference, and I think that's, you know, where you go from state to state. But always keep in the back of the mind who you are, what your values are, and being open to meeting different people.
Okay, so everybody, when you're about to move or make that transition, simply be open. Be open, okay? Next question. A lot of us in our 20s like to think that we have it all figured out or we have nothing figured out. And this ties in what I want to call this episode, which is just having absolutely no limits on your life. BC, I know you have a lot to say about this topic and what it means to not limit yourself and don't just limit yourself to the titles or the particular job. We went to school for engineers, but we're just not engineers. We love women empowerment, but that's just not all that we are. Of course, from the very foundation, we are women of Christ. We are God's children and God's daughters. But can you just speak and give us like your quick motivational segment on having no limits in your life? Because I know you got it, BC. Give it to us.
So I
appreciate it.
I will tie this into a Bible scripture, and I know we're going to talk about that. That's part of our conversation. But I'll tie this into a Bible scripture, and then just kind of talking about that. And it comes from Ecclesiastes 11:7 through 10, and I'll try to make it quick. Light is sweet, and it pleases the eyes to see the sun. However many years a man live, let him enjoy them all, but let him remember that the days of darkness for a day will be many. Everything to come is meaningless. Be happy, young man, while you are young, and let your heart give you joys in the days of your youth. Follow the ways of your heart, and whatever your eyes see, but know that for all these things God will bring you judgment. So then banish anxiety from your heart and cast off the troubles of your body, for your youth and your vigor are meaningless. Now, this meant a lot to me. I know I just said a lot. Some people are like, what? I had this conversation with my friend about reading Ecclesiastics and how motivational it was. And she told me, you know, she thought it was otherwise. You just kind of looked at it. It talks a lot about how everything is meaningless. And she was like, that doesn't sound very encouraging. She didn't like it. But one of the things that I pulled away from it, looking at it from a different paradigm or a different perspective, one of the things that I pulled away from Ecclesiastic is literally our lifespan is short. You know, we're all here on this earth for a short amount of time. So in everything that we do, make sure that we we're intentional about the things that we're doing. Now, that means if you want to go back to school, you know, don't limit yourself into, you know, oh, I have these responsibilities. And so, like, the world is your oyster. You know, if you want to start a nonprofit, go ahead and start a nonprofit. If you want to do a pageant, I never did a pageant up until the first win, you know, the first crown that I won, back in 2011, I believe. And I won it, you know. And I remember, I was super shy about it. I didn't really know how to go about it, but I did it. You know, starting a nonprofit can seem very challenging, you know, especially with, you know, filling out getting the 501c3 tax exemptions to starting the website, you know, just so many different things, all the money that goes into it, all the regulations that go into it, getting people to know about who you are. Like, there's just so many different things. You know, being an engineer, for example, you know, some people kind of stop at being an engineer, and that's fine. You know, that's fine for them. But if you feel like there's a fire within you and you feel like, you know, there's a purpose and a calling that's bigger than you, go for it. You never know what you will be able to gain or learn throughout that course. It may not end up how you want it to end up, but at least you have that experiences and, you know, you went for it. One of my biggest things is I don't want to look back in my life and when I'm 50 and look back in my life and say, what have I done with my life? I should have done this. I should have done that. Literally, as I think about something, I look into, I do my research on it, and I try to go for it. And sometimes it can be intimidating, but go for it. Don't limit yourself, and just being open. So, you know, like how Ecclesiastes talks about, enjoy your life. Make sure the things that you're doing make sense to you. You know, of course, having God at the back of your mind, because if you're, you know, it's not enough to just chase money. It's not enough to just chase what other people are doing or, you know, try to follow what the crowd is doing. It's not enough, because ultimately you want to do something that you find fulfillment in. You know, so when it talks about, you know, being happy while you're young and letting your heart give you joy the days of your life, that means so much. Enjoying every single thing that you're doing and truly, you know, being, you know, God-minded, and don't be anxious, you know, don't have any fear. And that's easier said than done, because, you know, sometimes I'm like, man, BC, what have you gotten yourself into? You probably, you know, it looks like I've bitten off more than I can chew, but man, go for it, because you never know who you would meet, what you would meet, or how God will truly open up that avenue for you to get there, or the lessons that you'll learn while being there. So.
Okay. And I think that leads me to my last question, which is, what does walking by faith mean to you?
Walking by faith means to me everything that I just talked about. So literally the Bible scripture, Ecclesiastes 11, 7 through 10, walking by faith, you know, doing what you feel that God has called you to do and trusting that he will get you to where he wants you to be, and trusting that, you know, he'll open up those doors for you. That's walking by faith, truly walking in your purpose. You know, Jasmine with her Walking by Faith podcast, which is amazing. I will, you know, that's walking by faith, truly doing where your heart feels, or where you feel like your heart aligns with your talent, and you can truly trust in God that he will take you to those next steps. That's what walking by faith means to me.
Okay. And earlier, you know, normally when I do the Walk by Faith podcast, I highlight a Bible scripture. But BC is just so dope that she already did it. And I am just completely honored that she can tie in not only a Bible scripture to the things that she's doing, but she can tie in God into the things that she's doing, which means, one, when you have a foundation that is not rocky, when you have a foundation that is built upon nothing but pleasing God and pleasing the people around him in his community, I don't think you can fail. And if you fail really gracefully in a way that you get right back up again. And I just want to thank you again, BC, for being a part of this Walk by Faith show, for just always inspiring not only women in STEM, but women in your local home, in women that are in California, and now women that are going to be on this podcast or listening to this podcast. Thank you for just inspiring us all to have zero limits on life and not letting the world limit us, and not just sticking with titles and just absolutely walking in your purpose 99.9% of the time. And I don't say 100%, because for that 1% we're continuously learning and growing, because none of us are perfect. But for 99% of the time, just continue to walk in that purpose and walk in where you are called to be. And one, if y'all follow her on Instagram, she is just fabulous. Okay? She is always deep and slaying to the gods. Her hair, I don't even know what it is today. I'm not going to even try to explain it. Not going to try to tell y'all what it is, because that's placing a limit on my little BC, okay? But, BC, where can they find you on social media? I know you already shouted out your website for Adior, but do you want to tell them your social media platforms just to re-inform the people?
Yes, so I can be found on Instagram. My name on Instagram is Princess, spelled Princess, Princess _ OMOBA, so Princess _ Omoba. You can reach out to me on Instagram. You can send me an email. My email address, I'm sure that Jasmine can put that with the podcast. My email address is Adebisi _Adele at yahoo.com. I can be reached there, and I can also be reached at the Adior site on the website as well. So I'm not intimidating. I don't bite. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions about Adior, about women in STEM, about women empowerment, or just overall life. I'm here. I'm open, and yes.
Okay, and you know something, BC? One thing I know about really following faith and understanding that as entrepreneurs we need support. We need support not only just with shouting someone out, but we need financial support. And I want you to know that I've already donated. I was the first person, by the way, to donate to your Adior GoFundMe. And I
thank you, Jasmine.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I encourage anybody listening to go in. If it's nothing but $3, if it's nothing but $5, it's going to go to some young ladies that need it, whether it be for the pageant, whether it be for programming. You don't know how expensive these things can be. And a lot of times with nonprofit organizations, it's just coming out of somebody's paycheck, right? That they already pay their homes, their bills, any travel expenses that they may have, or any family that they may be supporting. So if you can be a blessing, I challenge you to be a blessing to BC and this wonderful nonprofit organization that she has. And so I think on that note, we can end the podcast. Thank you so much. And let me say her full name again. Thank you, Adebisi Adeniji-Adele. Thank you so much for everything that you have done for us today.
Well, thank you for having me, Jasmine. I truly appreciate it. It's an honor to be here, and I'm proud of everything that you're doing. So you go, girl.
Thank you. Thank you. I don't take any of that for granted. I don't. And it's a continuous journey. And with that being said, I thank you. And y'all peace out. Have a great day. Tune in next week. I always got content for you.